Hello and good morning. Welcome everyone to Just Chat. On today's topic, it's very exciting today. Be the beautiful you. It's all about a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. Finding out what is important. Oh, sorry, there's a okay, there we go. So, what is it all about? It's about finding out more about just the outlook of yourself and more about the inner beauty, and also figure out more about your life. Like, how can we be a better person? All right. So, with us today, we have our guest. We want to invite to the show, Avantika. Please, everyone, welcome, Avantika. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great. Hopefully, I didn't say your name wrong just now, but
No,
yeah,
no, no, you said it perfectly right.
excellent, great. Could you introduce to our listeners out there and audiences a little bit about you?
All right, yes. So, hi, I'm Avantika. I am a psychology major at the moment. I'm from India, Mumbai specifically, and I'm a mental health advocate. I've been an advocate for mental health awareness for about 5, 6 years now. I run a mental health care enterprise called Beautiful You. We also run a podcast where we have guests over from around the world where they share their experiences with mental health disorders, and we dwell into their journeys and see what it is like. We also host events. We're working on a lot of things right now. We have a big team behind me, and I love reading, traveling, and anything that has to do with people. I love engaging, meeting new people, exploring new places. So yeah. Mhm.
Oh wow, you're doing a lot of things and traveling as well. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
of course.
You mentioned
Thank
you
you.
have a team and you've been doing this thing for quite a while, right? And how
Mhm.
is it like for the people in India? Is this something very common that people actually go and share the feelings or share their problems?
Oh, that's a good question. So, no, actually, psychology as a field is a growing field in India. And the thing is, mental health awareness is growing now. There are more and more people coming up and talking about it, but it's not much talked about still. There needs to be a lot of progress yet to be done. It is still a taboo topic in India, mental health. But there are people coming up, and we are trying to spread awareness about it, make people more literate about mental health awareness and the terminology and the language behind it. So yeah, it's still in progress. I wouldn't say we are quite there yet, but I can for sure see the youth coming up and talking more and more about it.
Yeah, so and you mentioned it's a taboo because it's kind of very similar in I think in Taiwan or where I'm at right now. And like for
Yeah.
example, women are more open to their feelings, and for men, it's
Hmm.
kind of hard. They will not approach these things. Even if the men have problems, they would not. They know they need to go see a doctor. They need to see a professional, but they refuse to do so. And the women who don't wants to go see a professional, but sometimes don't really want to because they feel
Hmm.
like it's a waste of money. It doesn't help. It's just someone talking. Is it similar in this case in India?
I would agree with you. Yes, it is 100% similar to it. It is harder for men to talk about their emotions. It's not very much encouraged, right? Like men are told to man up or bottle up their feelings, or that men don't cry, and all of these things that you hear growing up condition you in a way that protects you from, like, or holds you back from being vulnerable. It's
Mm,
definitely harder for men, and even with like women, it's even with people in general seeking mental health help isn't encouraged in India. So people wouldn't actively go for it. Like the minute that you experience distress, like if you experience distress physically, you'll immediately see a doctor for your physical ailments. However, you wouldn't immediately see someone for your emotional or mental health ailments. That is there is a huge disparity for that for sure.
hmm, mhm. Okay, that's yeah. So that's definitely needs to work on in a lot of places, not just
Yeah,
Taiwan, and not just Taiwan, but also in India. I'm guessing
yeah.
it's the same everywhere else around the world, but it's getting better
Mhm.
and better, right? Okay, so our episode today is "Be the Beautiful You," and I mentioned that we need it's the outlook of us that is beautiful, but maybe we can have the inner of us, inner beauty of us to be more better, or in a sense, I would say, be a better man, be a better person. So, for
Mhm.
you, what does this "be the beautiful you" mean to you? I mean, I know your
So
podcast is "Be the Beautiful You," but what does
yeah.
this extra phrase mean?
So for me, beautiful you means, so I've growing up, I've always loved the phrase you're beautiful, because for me the word beautiful somehow encompasses looking past your flaws and your it's like accepting you not despite your flaws but because of your flaws. So it's something which, for some reason it romanticizes the mere existence of human beings. I don't know, for some reason the word beautiful just is a very dear word to me, and it just means that someone is accepting of you for your whole existence and not just because of certain parts that they like or maybe they don't like. So it's because it's about accepting someone for who they are, for what they are, for the entirety of their being with their entire existence, and not having it conditional, and not seeing them just when it's convenient for us. So it's like it's basically accepting someone wholeheartedly for who they are, not rather for who you want them to be.
That's a great explanation. You have been using this word quite often, condition, like condition environment, conditioning you. Could you explain a little bit more in depth about what you meant by conditioning you?
So it's, how your childhood affects your upbringing affects your entire personality as you grow up. Your conditions or the situations that you go through shape up who you are. So all of these conditions that we have, the narratives that are built up from the very get go, like from the minute that we are born, like from our childhood to our adolescence to even when we are growing up and into adults, it's the conditions that we hear from our society build up a lot. And I do believe like they build up and they show up as in your personality as adults. That gets reflected in your patterns, in your relationships, in pretty much every aspect of your life. So for me, like, conditioning is identifying those patterns, those maybe
Mhm.
those patterns could be in, patterns in actions, behavior, thoughts. So identifying those patterns and seeing if do these conditions or do these patterns still serve me in a healthy way even when I have grown up and I'm doing and whatever phase of life I am in, does this still serve me? And then evaluating that, and then analyzing, oh, if this doesn't serve me, what is something which could be better, which will serve me, right? So understanding your conditions, where you're coming from, and why you think or behave the way that you do, and then evaluating that and then changing it as and when required. So yeah.
That's great. I mean, you pretty much mentioned identifying yourself, identifying the problem within you, right? So pretty much once we know that there is a problem within us or there's our weakness, we need to overcome it um, by but that's very difficult in some ways, right? Because it's
Yeah.
kind of like a stigma as well, because it's like everyone wants things to be a certain way and you want it
Mhm.
to be different, and it gets kind of hard. Would you say so?
Mhm.
How is that like in India?
In India, um, do you mean like what the conditions are like?
Now, for example, like make how do we say this? Okay, so they expect us. Okay, for example, an Asian person, right? So I'm an
Yeah.
Asian guy, right? So in my family, I'm always expected to grow up, to be a man, to take more responsible into my affairs, be more responsible in my affairs, right? If I'm the first child, then yes, the whole family lines depends on you. You are more in charge of it. But sometimes, right? Sometimes as a person, you may be like, I don't really want to have that responsibility, but everyone's putting it on you, like you have to do this, you have to be this, you have to be this type of person. Do you get what
Mhm.
I'm, right? So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah, yeah.
everyone's asking you or making you, like conditioning you to be this
Mhm.
particular type of person, but in reality maybe you are not. And so I think because of this, sometimes people get into depression, right? Or have some
Mhm.
problems with with their health, physical health, and mentally, because of all this immense pressure that is around you, right? And maybe they didn't give it to you forcefully, but it's there, right?
Yeah.
So, what's it like in India? Or
It definitely, so because India is also part of the Asian culture, right? So it's what you experience as an Asian man, something which it is also very similar in India. We just come from a South Asian, like geographically speaking, we
right,
come from South Asia. So it's a little different for sure. It's a little, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a little stricter. It's just like, how Asian households are. There are certain rules and regulations that you have to follow. If you're a girl, there are certain rules that you would have to follow. So it's pretty much very similar to what you have described. There are certain problems that we face. There are certain situations, like if you are, if like you said, like if you are the oldest one, the responsibility pretty much lies on you. You're expected to be the breadwinner. You're expected to be or do all of these things. If you're a man, you're expected to be the breadwinner. You're expected to have it all figured out really early on. If you're a woman, you're expected to know how to cook, how to keep the house clean, how to do all of these like household chores. um there are certain things like that, like if you like, it's okay for to be like, there's a system of arranged marriage in India. Where, have you heard about it?
I have heard of arranged marriage, yes. So is this
Yeah.
still very common in India?
It's changing. It's changing now. Like people are more so getting into love marriages, and they're more open to the idea of getting married outside of your caste system and everything. But it is still pretty prevalent, I would say. Like in our previous generation, till our previous generation, it was still prevalent. I don't know what my generation, what our generation will be like. So it's changing for sure. The scene is changing at the marriage front, but it's still very very prevalent. Yeah.
And it brings out a lot of interesting connection to this as well, because we could talk about a lot of things like why do we need to get married, and why is this such an important thing. And I understand in social society in that we need to build a family, a tradition, um, a whole group of, you know, a whole group of things that people will want to get into. For example, if we have an arranged marriage, if we do arranged marriage, it solves a problem where you can't find a partner, you can't find a love, but you're creating a family. In this case, would be say forcefully, but in some cases,
Mm.
I think some arranged marriage are pretty successful. I mean, India is a one of the, you know, had lots of smart people in it, right? And so
Yeah,
I'm
for
pretty
sure.
sure if there is arranged marriage, it's probably working in some places. I mean, back in those
Yeah.
days in China as well, the arranged marriage is there and everything. If for my audiences out there, younger generations, if you don't know anything about arranged marriage, there's a cartoon called Mulan. Right? If you have seen it, there's a
Yeah.
talk about where she had to marry this person or something. And so yeah, I mean, honestly say there are always good and bad into all things, right? Arranged marriage is one of them. There's good about it and there's bad things about it, right? But it also comes to the point like, why do women need a man to be who she is? Why does a man need to have a woman to be who he is? I mean, nowadays in these generations nowadays, people tend to be more independent. We don't do not need
Mm.
to rely on relationships or any of these things to help us stand where we are. So,
Yeah, for
what's your
sure, for sure.
perspective on this?
So, being a woman from this generation that we are, I would never rely on a relationship or marriage per se to be independent. I would rather, like this is my personal stance that I would want to have a full fledged career. And if marriage isn't really, like, if you ask for my personal opinion, marriage isn't really on my, like, a thing on the bucket list to check
Mhm.
off. I'm 21, so right now this is not something that I'm thinking about
Oh,
yet
you're
at the
only
moment.
21? Oh,
But yeah. I'm still in university. I'm completing my bachelor's at the
okay.
moment. I'll be done in like 6 months. So
Well,
yeah. So
congratulations in
being
advance.
21,
So,
this is, thank you. so so yeah, being this young, something on my mind right now. But I do, however, think whenever, if I get to the position where I want to get settled and I want to have a family and stuff like that, I would never leave my career, because being financially independent and being and having a successful career is just as important to me as having a family or having a partner and being like in a settled relationship or something like that. So yeah.
and that's the thing I really like, because here's the thing: people always look for a partner or something else. They keep
Mhm.
looking for this, right? I mean, it will come. Some people do not find it immediately. Some people find it later in life, but at the same time, we are worried about what other people are thinking about us or how other people are looking at us. Um, Physically, for of course, we're gonna say physical attraction is always like the first thing people look at. But
Mhm.
at the same time, if we work on ourselves, we improve ourselves, make us a better person, things will
Mhm.
come. Like the things will be attracted to you, and they will come to you. Physical outlook doesn't really matter in most cases. So this is what we're talking about. Like, be the beautiful you, be the better person. So if I can work on myself, like career wise, like I did do
Mhm.
so well, eventually all these things will be attracted to you. People will come to you. I'm not
For
saying
sure.
this is going to be only gender wise, but no, I think it works for both, like men and women. So if I think, like, I truly believe that if we want a partner in a relationship to come to you, if
Mhm.
we work on ourselves, people will be attracted to who you are as a person, inner beauty.
Mhm. Yeah.
Things will work out. What do you think?
100%. It's you have to be like on that particular level of frequency to attract the same tribe. So you basically, you attract your tribe. So if I want a guy, or if I want someone who is successful or has something established or is ambitious, I need to be functioning on those levels as well. I need to have a successful career. I need to be ambitious as well. I need to be focused on my career and my goals and have my priorities straight. You can't just expect, because otherwise they wouldn't value your opinions or they wouldn't value your stance, essentially. So you need to make sure that whatever you aspire for, like whatever you want, you're becoming that as well. So I
That's right. That's
100%
right.
agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and plus you're a student, so I'm an educator myself, but of course my students are way much younger than you. They're in high
Mhm.
school ages, and so most of them, that's this time. Well, actually, this whole week they're having their tests. It's the final week of tests for the first semester, but
Ah,
at the
okay.
same time, most students do not think about the future. They only think about the
Mhm.
present, and at the same time, they think about what society wants for them, the social stigma that you need to have a boyfriend, you need to have a girlfriend, and they need to look good, or presentable in some ways, right? And so their
Mhm.
focus is solely on this. And every time this issue comes, some students will actually come to me and say, Dominic, teacher Dominic, I can't find a good boyfriend. Like, I can't. And then so I'm like, why are you even looking for a boyfriend right now? I mean, if you focus in your education, you focus on all the things that you're supposed to do, those things will come later. And
Yeah.
the next question would be, what if they don't come later? And I was like, well, at least you establish a career. You have all these things you want in life. Those things are considered
Mhm.
pretty minor, right? So, but
Yeah.
they don't see it that way. So you as a student, right? You mentioned it as well. You're getting ready for your career. You're focusing on your career. But
Yeah.
how does it? What is your mindset when you're much younger?
When I was in high school, I genuinely wasn't thinking about all of these things. I was simply just living. Like I was focusing on my academics and my extracurriculars and whatever I was doing at that time. Uh, so okay, so this comes because of the cultural thing in India. Relationships or having a boyfriend in high school isn't really encouraged. It's actually looked down upon. So
Oh, really?
have
Wow.
yeah,
Mhm.
so it's basically like if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend in high school, it's like, oh, you're not focused enough, so you're probably getting distracted, and they somehow like attached, like, oh, you might be a bad person because you are so distracted that you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So
Mm.
it's kind of like looked down upon. So I never really perceived anyone, or no one like perceived me. So it's like I was just doing my thing. And yeah, in high school I really wasn't thinking about relationships or anything like that. I had crushes here and there, but that's just normal, and that's how it happens. But yeah, so like coming in college, I started thinking about relationships. And I was in one for a while, and then that didn't like work out, unfortunately, like after 2 years. But it's like I've never really given it so much importance that I would drop everything that I do. Like it is something like I do go out and meet new people, but it's something that I do side, like on the side, while I'm fully focused on my career, because I come first, and my career and aspirations and my goals always take a priority. I'm very ambitious, so all the work that I do, like you had mentioned in the earlier, like there are a lot of verticals that we run at Beautiful You. So that takes up majority of my time, and that all of that coming, having recordings like this one with you. So this always takes a priority for me. So yeah, it's, if it happens with, like, if I meet someone, and turns into something stable long term, then so be it. But if it's not the end of the world, basically.
And this is what I liked about you. You're amazing in a lot of ways, and also you're amazing that you're only 21 years old and you're already thinking
Yeah,
about this and working your career into place. What
yeah,
if I say when I was 21 years old, I had a vision before, and of course I don't. I know the issue of mental health. I know the depression some people uh, were involved in, or have this depression, or have certain setbacks. Or I'm just gonna say setbacks in their life, certain
right.
blocks of for them
Mm,
being successful. I mean, I don't think anyone is perfect in this world. Like I feel like I myself have this experiences, this blockage that's stopping me to be a better person. And at the age of 21, I don't really think about it at that time. I know it's there. I know there's some problem with me, but I do not think about it. Because I'm still young in that case, right? And my focus was a little bit very different in those days. So, do you
mm,
think that younger people, I'm pretty sure all younger people thinks a little bit about mental health, a little bit about their self, right? Do you
yeah.
think that they should work on it when they're younger, or we should just
Mm.
ignore this until your 20s or 30s, and then you have this problem? Okay, let's start working about your mental health.
So, people say ignorance is a bliss. So, when you're completely ignorant about a certain situation that you have, you might not experience the bad consequences of it as much in a higher intensity. However, I do think that mental health is something which is very crucial. So, if you had to deal with, if you, let's say, if you had a broken leg, right? You wouldn't be like, oh, I'm in my 20s and let's not think about it right now. It will heal itself. No, you would immediately go to the doctor. You'd immediately get it fixed, take all the medications, all the precautions, all the steps that you need to do, right? It's very similar to mental health. But if you don't know what to do, like if you have a broken leg, you can't go to a dentist. You need to go to an ER. First of all, you need to get it checked with the physician. So you need to know what steps you need to take for it, right? You have to know beforehand that if you have a broken ankle, you should probably not exercise that ankle for a while and just sit down. So these are the things that you need to be told, or whatever, like all of these physical ailment stuff that we need to see. Like if you have a cold or a fever, you need to see a GD, you need to go there. So you need to know all of these things, who to approach, how to approach them, when to approach them. So I feel like even with mental health, even if you're experiencing stress, which is something everyone experiences, but if it impairs your daily functioning, that's when you know that you need to see a professional. And professionals are there just to help you through it, to smoothen your journey, perhaps to give you some insight, to help you understand how to navigate through different hurdles that you experience. So I feel like educating people about mental health, making them aware about what it is exactly, how it will affect them, what are different conditions that you might experience. Oh, this is, if you're sad for a very long time, and if it is hard for you to get out of bed, that's not normal. If it's affecting your daily functioning, that's not normal, and that's when you need to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So understanding these things and removing the stigma around it, like it is okay to seek help, it is okay to go out and seek therapy, or see a doctor for it, see a psychiatrist. So all of these things go hand in hand, and I feel like it's very important to impart this education from a very early age on, so people don't have the shame around mental health, around seeking help for mental health. And they are more open to going for help, and yeah, it's they're able to identify these things at a very early age on. Like if you were to understand, oh, this is depression, maybe, and if you sought help, maybe it wouldn't get so worse that you experience suicidal ideations, perhaps, right? So it's like it doesn't get worse. So it will actually, not might, it will save a lot of lives as well, if we have early intervention into these situations, and if people have enough knowledge about these things and the stigma around it isn't there, people would be approaching more psychiatrists and psychologists, and so many lives will be saved.
Well, the most important in the life of your own life, right? Some people
Yeah.
don't value their life that much. I remember I was in a stage where I don't think that the value of my life is that important, and therefore there's a lot of things that I need to think about. And but and you think about yourself sometimes, like if I'm not here,
Mm-hmm.
who would think about me? And there's one stage in my life where I was thinking, if I die, who will go to my funeral? And I'm keep thinking who, and who, and who. So I keep envisioning other people, the way people look at me. I'm not thinking about myself at all, right? And eventually I
Mm-hmm.
figured out that I need to work on myself. I need to love myself more. I know all this. This is all important. I knew all of it. But at the same time, I wasn't thinking about it for some reason. Maybe because reality or society is conditioning me to think very differently. And they do that. So it's just we need to get better at it and figuring out, like we mentioned earlier, like you mentioned earlier, the very first start of our podcast, which is identifying. We need to under identify it and then figure out what we're going to do, and then eventually change, right? Okay, so now
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about change. We understand there's a mental health problem. How can we go about to changing it? I mean, talking to professionals is one. That's absolutely one idea. But what are other
Mm-hmm.
ways? Like there are people, like I know there are people out there who feel like, okay, I have mental health. I'm definitely not gonna go see a doctor. I can go do something else, right?
Right. So that's a very tricky question. It also depends on like culture to culture in different countries. What provisions are there for like the way that UK and US is about mental health? It's a little bit advanced than where India stands at the moment. There might be certain other countries which are a little more behind India where we stand regarding mental health. So it really genuinely depends on country to country. I can only speak about India and the experiences I had so far. Other So if they don't want to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist, a support group is might be a good place where they can have a safe space and talk about their journeys and their experiences, and have people around that they can talk with who have similar experiences, so there will be a factor of relatability that they would be able to engage in. So that is one. The other part would be, so one of the essential things that leads to making mental health care accessible is having it in insurance, health insurances. So
Mm.
having provisions in the constitution, and um, making it like including therapy and psychiatric services in your health insurance would be something that will go a long way, because therapy and all of these services are a little expensive. To If you want to get access to good mental health care, it will get expensive, so money comes into a play. So having it in insurance would be something that the government will have to take care of. But on a community level, I feel like joining support groups, joining peers, or having a mentor for yourself might actually go a long way as well. So these are just a few things that you can do, if you, or maybe educating yourself, reading books, watching videos, listening to podcasts. So just educating yourself through different means of media, that is also one of the things that will help you out a lot.
That's great. That's great because right now, the younger generations right now, everyone's using social media. I mean, there's TikTok,
Yeah,
there's Instagram, there's Facebook. Now, even my students are saying Facebook is for older generations. Like, oh my gosh, I'm too
yeah,
old now. I mean, so there's Instagram, and then there's a new one, the or Threads by Instagram,
yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Instagram.
So there's all
Yeah.
these new things. I mean, that is one reason why I have my podcast out there. I want people to have access to any kinds of information they have in mental health and to improve their daily life.
Mm,
And at the same time, if you're
100%.
watching this, whoever's watching this, Avantika has mentioned there's so many ways to get there.
Yeah.
Besides just seeing a doctor, and doctors are going to be expensive. They're going to charge you a lot. But then there's this thing where people will say, how much of a value of a money compared to your life? You want your life to be more important. Is it more important, or the money that you get is more important? So how are you going to spend it, right? So that's how people
Mhm.
value, like, insurance and stuff. But at the same time, I want us to know, like, I want everyone to know out there that there are ways, there are steps, right? And so actually today, in one of my classes today, I mentioned to one of my students how we can overcome dangerous situations. In this case, right, I was mentioning that if we go through an alleyway, a very dark and scary place, right, it's something unfamiliar to us. If we see these places, we tend to avoid it, right? But what if this
Yeah.
is the only way to get back to your house, right? And so if this is the only path to go to your house, I'm sure there's plenty of other paths, but maybe this is the one way that you have to go through it. And At first it's gonna be scary. So you're gonna be so scared. You walk on this path, you'll be looking around, looking for problems, for dangerous things. But eventually, as you keep going this path, it becomes less scary, right?
Yeah.
With less scary, you become confident in it. You start working on. So what I want to say is support groups and peer support groups. This is all very important because understanding that we have mental health, we have depression, it's a first step to everything. But they are very scary once you found
Yeah.
out that you have this. Oh my gosh, what should I do with it? I mean, the first things younger people do right now, obviously, is Google it. But sometimes Googling things does not give you the answer that you really want.
Yeah.
But going to Facebook or any asking your friends, they may not give you the answer that you really want. It's the answer that they are thinking about. And so if we go to support groups, everyone is looking for the same thing, the same answers. And we are there, we are helping each other. After once 1 week or 2 weeks or three, four, five visits, we eventually get comfortable in understanding that we have this problem and we this weaknesses that we have, this blockage that we have, that we can are able to overcome it, right? So what do you
Mhm.
think about this?
Actually, that's a really good example. It's a really good way to explain it. It's the only way to get through mental health journeys and mental health struggles is to go through it. There's no shortcut for it. I was having this conversation with one of my friends today itself. We're talking about how, like, whenever you face certain ugly emotions, you don't want to do that. It's so uncomfortable, right? You want to, like, just get past it and stuff like that. But it's that's not how you go through it. The only way to get to another place, to get to the other side of a situation, is to pass through the situation. You need to go through it. So, like you said, you need to go through that path and you get more confident, you get more resilient as well. And yeah, so I 100% agree with you on that one. It's you need to have courage, you need to just continue going and take it one step at a time. One thing that I always say is, so sometimes in your mental health healing journey you might feel like, oh, you made a lot of progress, so you are 5 steps ahead, right, in your journey. But
Mhm.
on some days you might feel like you're 2 steps behind. Something happened that makes you feel like, oh, you took a back step. So I always say that 5 steps forward and 2 steps backward is still 3 steps forward. So that's still
Mm.
a journey. That's still progress in your journey. So you need to, like, remember that that's still progress.
I like that, the 5 steps and 3 steps. I had this similar thinking before. Like everything is either one step. I'm using very small steps. Everything is only 1 step or 2 steps. It's either you're going 2 steps ahead or 1 step ahead. There's no backwards. There's where you are
Yeah.
standing, but there's no backwards. But there's where you can go 1 step or you can go 2 steps. I mean, if you go one
Mhm.
step, it doesn't work out. What does it mean? It means you go back 1 step, but
Yeah.
still you are going towards it. Now, you mentioned one thing that you were having this conversation with your friend. I mean, so amazing. When I was young, at your age or younger or anything, I don't have friends who talk about mental health or to talk about their
Yeah.
depression, mainly because we are afraid to show our friends our weaknesses. If we start showing them our weaknesses, what do they think about us? Oh no. And here's the thing I keep bringing back in, which is what do other people think about you? And I want to
Yeah.
emphasize that that is not important. That is not how we should be thinking. And at the same time, while we're talking about this, we tend to use a lot of excuses to define us or to condition us in some ways. Like for example, I'm in India, so in India people have to do this. I'm in Taiwan, so in Taiwan people have to do this, and this is how our culture is like. I mean, we are there are younger generations out there. People are starting to think, no, it's not that. There's no such thing as culture stopping us. There's no such thing as this is stopping us. We need to think for ourselves. We need to improve ourselves. So you having a friend to able to talk about this is already 1 step ahead or even two, right? To
Yeah.
if you get into problems, if you get into troubles, they are there for you, right?
For
I
sure.
mean, when I was young,
I feel.
I have problems.
Yeah.
The only person I can go to probably is my parents. But at the same time, you are afraid what you would say to your parents. What would they think about you? Or the reality of what they will do back to you. For some, maybe some parents will actually
Yeah.
hit you or something like that, right? So you are scared about it. But Yeah, so what you have right there is a treasure. Having a friend to be able to talk about this kind of problems is actually great. Now, when we talk about friends, right? How can we, as a friend to a person going through
Mhm.
tough time, how can we help them or support them? So
That's
let's
a
talk
really
about.
good question. So I feel like one of the primary things to do is not assume, because every individual is different. So what would help you might not help the other person. So the first and the primary thing to do is to ask them, how can I be there for you? Ask them, what do you need from me? How does support look like from me? How do I be there for yourself? How do you want to talk about it? Maybe help them out with something tangible. Like whenever I'm going through a really tough time, I remember this one time, I had a lot of workload from university, and I was also going through a lot of like a really difficult time mentally, so I couldn't genuinely like focus on getting my university work done. So I have a really good friend who helped me out with one of the projects that we need to work on, one of the assignments that we need to work on. And I really appreciated her help, because no matter how much I talked about my situation, it wasn't going to help me. But her help in my assignment was going to help me. So her helping me out in the assignment was the true help that I really needed at that time. So something like that, just asking your friends on how to be there for you. Secondly, be patient. It's hard, because your loved one is going through a hard time and you just want to take away their troubles, and you just don't, you want to make it all right, but the other person has to go through these hard experiences to come out the other end. There's no other way but to experience all these emotions and all these experiences that they're having. So the other part would be have a little bit of patience with your friend. If they are withdrawing, or if they are not talking to you as much, if they are um, like using certain coping mechanisms, just be a little patient with them. Thirdly, I would say, which is also so important, is take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you need to take care of yourself. You need to be fully whole to be able to help out others as well. So yeah, and the fourth one would be show up. If you're if your friend is going through a hard time and needs some help from you, it's equally important not just to say that, oh, I'm there for you. Saying is one thing, but also showing up and being there for someone is another. So I feel like all these 4 points cover pretty much everything. Ask, be patient, take care of yourself, and show up. So
That's great. Yeah, yeah. You mentioned one thing that I want to talk about in the it's like, if we have an empty cup, we can't pour water to anyone else, right? So
mm.
that's a great thinking right there. But how do we get our water in the first place? That's what
how
I
do
want
you
to focus on.
how do you get the water in the cup?
Yeah, for example, you mentioned that if there's no water in the cup, we can't pour out the water. We can't help someone
Yeah,
else. Right? So
yeah.
how can that person? How can you get the water in your cup?
So it really depends on person to person. Engage in self care activities, take care of yourself, listen to your body, listen to your mind, do what you need to feel full, focus on your life as well, on your priorities as well. Don't push everything that you have aside just to accommodate someone else. Because if you do that, then you're essentially just moving everything in your life to accommodate that person. And it's not going to end well for anyone, because you're not being there for yourself, which is going to take the water away. So
Mm.
it engage in like self-care activities, do what makes you feel happy, do what makes you feel fulfilled, something that rejuvenates you. And yeah, that's basically how you get the water in.
That's great. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. That's kind of answer that I want.
Yeah,
I also want to add on to it as well because, for example, if we have a cup of water, right, from a tap water anywhere, right, can you drink from the tap water in India?
no,
Is it drink? Okay, no, sorry. So if we're drinking from the tap water, oh yes, I would share that. But if
no,
we're
no, no,
drinking
I
from
know,
some
I
kind of
know.
water, right?
You get it. I know that you in some countries you drink it directly from tap water, so it's okay. You can use that analogy. It's
Right.
okay.
Okay. So this analogy is like if
Yeah.
we have a cup, right, and we get drops of water, small tiny drops of water, can we fill the cup? That's the question, right? If there's small tiny drops of water that keep dripping down from the tap water from anything, can we fill the cup? The answer would definitely be yes, right?
Yeah,
but it's not
but
fast.
it's
It's
not
just,
fast.
but it's there, right?
It's there, yeah, but then you'd have to make sure that you don't pour whatever you're like. If you're getting like, I don't know, 5 ml of water drip by drip, don't
R-
pour like all 5 ml into someone else.
For
Just
sure,
let
yeah.
your cup
So at the same
full
time, what I
fill.
want to say is everyone out there, all my listeners out there, anyone, right? It doesn't come to you immediately. It doesn't come to everyone. You're not gonna get a waterfall immediately to fill up your cup. Occasionally,
Yeah,
most days, we just have to add in a little by little. I mean, go on YouTube, look at, watch, read, watch a video one day, and it was, oh, 5 minutes of video. That's like helping you, giving you small input into your life. It makes things
yeah.
easier, little bit by little bit. Eventually, oh, that's also the reason why sometimes in our stressful day of work, people like to go on YouTube or go to any of their social media sites and watch some funny comedies for 1 minute or 30 seconds. Like, oh, this is so funny. Okay, back to work. So it rejuvenates you, right? So I would
Yeah.
say this is the same thing as well. What we're doing, like you mentioned, all these things, we need to put all these things into our life. It doesn't have to be immediately. It can be
Mm.
little bit by little bit, and then we get there. Be patient.
Yeah.
And there's one more thing I want to add it to you as well, as a friend to anyone else who's having this problem. The one thing that we should never do is judge. We should
Yeah.
never judge them. This is what people are afraid of, and that's why people don't go to get the help, because they're afraid of being judged by other people. Oh, what are they gonna think about me? What are they gonna do to me? And all this is what society is doing already. Why are we
Mm.
adding on more misery to other people? We should just not judge them. We should just do what we can to help them.
Mm. Yeah.
So
No,
as
no,
an
for sure.
educator,
Holding the safe space is so crucial, where the other person can talk about their emotions, can talk about whatever they want to talk about, and feel however they want to feel. It's holding the safe space is just as important for sure. I completely missed that point, but I agree with you. Yeah.
no, I don't think you missed the point, but yeah. So yeah, but as an educator as well, it comes to the sense that people tend to judge students
Yeah.
because teachers tend to think that they are better than the students. In most cases, it is, but in some cases, we shouldn't be thinking about it that way. I mean, as an educator, what is important to you as an educator? For me, sometimes I get to the same stage what everyone else is doing. It's like, oh, this student is terrible. Oh, this is terrible student. Oh no, but we should be thinking this student is having problem. How can I help this student? I should be the
I
kind
love
of
that.
teacher or person or friend to be like, they're having this problem. I shouldn't be like, oh, it's you again. Why are you doing this? Like, we should be thinking
Yeah.
about how we can help this person. Like, what is he need? Like you mentioned, we can ask them, hey, what do you
Yeah.
need? Let me help you. But at the same time, this question to me, if someone asks to me, is like, hey, I know you're having problems. How can I help you? I'm gonna be like, I'm fine. It's okay. Thank you. And I'll walk on. And this is me entirely. And so at the same time, because well, I'm gonna say this out right, because there's this one stage in my life where I go to church and I actually someone asked me this question. Dominic, you're having this problem, right? We know you're having problems. So what can we do to help? Okay. So that was the stage for me. And I actually said, okay, I admit it. I'm having this problem. Everyone knows in this room right now. I'm having this problem. I need help. Can anyone, any of you here help me? At that instance, no one, everyone was quiet. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So on this,
Really?
this is me.
I'm
This is
so
me. So I
sorry.
was thinking, oh my gosh, I go to this environment where I think people will help you. And I will help people. And people offered the
Yeah.
help already. People mention it out. And then when they mention it out, and then when okay, I admit it, I need help. But no one's helping. Now that's what got me like, oh my gosh. So this is definitely how society works. Society works in a way that
Yeah.
they know they want to offer this,
That's so
give it to you.
unfortunate.
But when you say, okay, let's take it, and they'll be like, oh no, what can I really do? So this is the type of thing I want to avoid. This is the type of thing that we need to change the mindset of everyone. We need to
Yeah.
understand everyone is having a problem. Like you mentioned, everyone's having a problem. Everyone has problems. How can we help? Stop
Mm.
judging. Doesn't matter if that person is younger or older, especially younger, because the older people will definitely see things differently when the other person is
Mhm.
younger. But we need to understand that everyone needs help. We need to offer the help when we can. I mean, if we do this, society will be way much better, right?
100%. Yeah.
Mental health and
Wow,
everything.
I'm sorry that that happened. That's actually very unfortunate. And I love how your approach with the students is. So I used to tutor high school students like English for 2 years in my undergrad, and I experienced the same thing where it's like where a student, if a student like every student is my responsibility, their progress, or even if they're not making progress, that's on me, right? It's my responsibility as an educator. So like if a student is having certain difficulties, my instant thought process is, okay, how do I make it better for them? It's not about, oh my god, not him again or not her again.
Right,
You know,
right,
you
right.
need to like, as an educator, you really need to hold the space for them to explore, because they're just kids. They're gonna mess up a little, they're gonna learn a lot, they're gonna, they're just being kids. So like as educators, as someone who's responsible for the education, you just need to continuously ask yourself, how do you make it better for them? And I think it just comes into play even as just a part of a community where you're like, okay, how do I make it better as a person and contribute to the community, and help each other grow in the community. So
That's right. Exactly. That's right. Um, this an incident happened today in my class, one of my classes today. Very
yeah.
interesting because I noticed this this student of mine. She won an award recently, and
Oh,
she's not the type of person that she was tell everyone, "Hey, I won something. Everyone looked at me." She was not. She's actually pretty quiet, but she's very
yeah.
happy. She's always had these happy faces, and she has friends. I mean, I'm pretty sure she has friends. She's because she's smiling and she's always happy. And so
Mm.
I went to I she was in my class, so I talked to her today. I was like, "Hey, you won an award the other day. What kind of award was it?" And so she was like, "You saw it?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I saw a picture of you and the principal. What did you win?" And she told me about it. I was like, "Wow, that's great. Congratulations." And she's like, "A teacher congratulated me. That's so different." I'm like,
Yeah.
she said that in her own language, in the Chinese language. I'm like, okay, wow, okay. And so we talk a little bit more, and she also end up mentioning that her parents run a kind of like an inn, a hotel kind of thing. And so
Mm.
and she also mentioned that they do all kinds of things. So it says so they say she was saying, Dominic, if you come to a hotel, I'll give you a discount. Also, that's great. That's great. Amazing. One day
Oh,
I'll
that's great.
go. And she also mentioned about her family is selling tea and stuff, right? Tea, and I don't really drink tea, but at that time I was
Yeah.
like, oh, tea, that's cool. If I buy tea from you, would that actually help you? Or so yeah, if you buy tea from me, it will help me a lot. I was like, oh great. So maybe one day I'll maybe next month, my next payday or something, I'll
Yeah.
buy some tea from you. And she's like, yes. I was like, and she's like going around well, after our conversation, she pretty much was going around and talking to her friends like, "Teacher Dominic is gonna buy tea from me. I'm gonna make some money." And it's like, "Well, and she not only says that, she also mentioned this thing that I'm actually helping my parents." I'm like, "Wow, a young student to be thinking that what they're doing is actually helping their parents. It's a whole thing."
Yeah.
So the reason I
That's
mentioned
that's
this,
so wholesome.
sorry, yeah.
That's so wholesome. That's so sweet. That's so sweet that you do that, and her reaction was also very wholesome.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say from this example that just happened to me today was I did something without judging someone, and
Yeah.
it helps that person unconditionally, and that person doesn't even know it really, and I don't even really in knowing consciously that I actually help someone. So this is what it
Yeah.
is. It creates an environment that I really like to be in, and I'm pretty sure anyone likes to be in. If we stop judging people and start working on ourselves and seeing how people actually need help, having this simple conversation, it makes a lot of difference. I remember when I was in
100%.
school, when I was young, I do not have any of this conversation with my teachers or anyone because no one approached me or my friends. No one approached me. There's
Yeah.
nothing. And so,
It's definitely changing. There needs to be more conversations. Honestly, even in like Taiwan, India, all around the world, the conversations need to be happening more at a larger scale.
mm,
But I can definitely see the shift. Everyone can see the shift happening at the moment, which is great. We just need to be louder and we need to be more in number. Yeah.
There we go. We need to be louder. All right. Well, thank you, Avantika. We have talked a lot of interesting, exciting things, right? So let's
Yeah.
shorten it up a little bit. What can we say? Let's say we mentioned 4 steps, all right? So what can you say in your 4 step or 4 points to our audiences out there to help them in this journey of them to be better of themselves or be the beautiful you?
Oh, that's such a good question. So, wow, 4 steps. If I have to wrap it up in four, I don't know if I'll be able to do that, but let's see. All right. So you put me on the spot here, Dominic.
Oh,
so,
let's make it 5 steps. Make
uh,
it 5 steps. All right. Let's add another step.
so okay, all right. So 4 steps. The first most important thing that I think is acceptance. Accepting that you're struggling, accepting that you need help, accepting that someone else might need help, and yeah, I feel like acceptance. So here it comes like without judgment, right? You're not judging the other person or yourself for struggling right now or anything like that. So acceptance would be the first part. The second part would be seeking help, be it from your family, your friends, your mentors, your peers, your any professional like a psychiatrist or a psychologist, a therapist, anyone out there, your teachers maybe. So anyone in your circle who social circle who might be able to help you out. So seeking help would be the second important part. Third important part, I think, would be letting yourself be, letting yourself exist, and letting yourself feel whatever you're feeling, think whatever you're thinking, letting yourself just exist without judgment, right? Because that is so important. It to give yourself that space to be vulnerable, to give yourself that space to be able to just be yourself is so important. And we are so conditioned by, oh, this is how men should behave, or this is how women should behave, or this is how mental health is not a thing, you're making it up, or you're overthinking with it. Like there are just so many conditions that we have
Mhm.
been grown up with. So breaking those conditions is just as important, and letting yourself feel whatever you're feeling without those judgments, without that lens of criticism is very important. These three is something that I can think of. Let's see. The fourth one, so first would be obviously acceptance, seeking help, letting yourself exist. The fourth one would probably be just, I think I covered pretty much everything, but if I have to say something, uh, I will say being patient, because mental health journey, your healing is something which is very crucial and slow. It is, you know how people say healing is not linear, it's very true actually. So you will feel like you're making a lot of progress on some days, on some days you'll feel like absolute shit. I don't think, I don't know if I can swear, so sorry about that. So on some days you'll feel like a total failure, or you'd feel like you're moving back on your healing journey, or you'll feel like a mess up. So on those days you just need to be patient with yourself. Showing grace is very important. Showing compassion to yourself is also very, being kind, essentially being kind is also so incredibly important. So being patient, being kind with yourself would be the fourth thing, because mental health is something which will take a toll, and it is something that everyone goes through. Everyone who has stressful events has certain stressors that put them through something. So just letting yourself go through it, seeking help, accepting what you're going through, and showing compassion and kindness to yourself is just as important. So
Thank you. That was great. 4 steps. Even though the fourth one was something
yeah.
you come up with the last minute. But yes, those are the great 4 steps. Our audiences out
Thank
there,
you.
everything's there for you. Everything's there. We are afraid sometimes, I know, but we shouldn't be. We should find time to analyze ourselves and get ourselves better. Avantika is doing amazing things out there in India, especially. So for all those viewers out there in India, if you are there, look her up.
Mm,
And anyone else in the world, it's okay to contact her as well. She has a
yeah.
podcast called Beautiful You on Spotify, and I've put a link on the insta of her Instagram. I think yes, Instagram right there, a Beautiful You pods, and so you can actually go there and look it up, and all her links are there as well. And for those who in Taiwan, all my students out there, if you need help, I'm a phone call away or a message away. Don't You can just call me or anything. It's fine, all right? So everyone else, don't be afraid to ask your friends for help. Don't be afraid to be that friend to
Yeah.
your friend that you know is needing help. Don't judge. It's all about don't judge, right? Don't be what you hate. Don't be what you hate. In this way, we can be the beautiful us. We can be the beautiful person. We can be even better. Just like before a caterpillar, and then the caterpillar eventually be a beautiful butterfly. But at the same time, does anyone realize that caterpillars are actually very beautiful as well? So you have to understand that, caterpillars are beautiful as well. If you become a butterfly, that's even more beautiful. No, it's still beautiful. It's still the same you. There's no change. Outlook is different, but the inner beauty is what's important. All right. So I want
For
to end on.
sure.
Thank you, Avantika, for coming to the show today. It was great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a fun time talking to you about all of these things. And yeah, you were a great host. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Well, to our listeners out there every day, this week is an exciting week because I have pretty much have guests and shows every day this week. So please tune in, get in touch, and find out if you want to be on this show. Again, you can message me and we can talk about it. Also, don't forget, we always need to help other people. Help yourself as well. All right. Thank you. That's it. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.